Dia de los Muertos, or Day of the Dead, by Kimberly Naparty. The Day of the Dead uses art to celebrate and honor the deceased. Even though their ancestors are dead, they are still very important to their culture. In the text Exploring Art by Margaret Lazari and Danya Slicer explains to us how important art can be to the clan's ancestors. It says, art is an important element in the rituals that bring the entire clan together. This is what the holiday is all about, celebrating their dead ancestors with everyone and paying tribute to them. Rituals of the Day of the Dead can be traced all the way back to the Aztecs, who have honored the goddess Mechichachila, who is also known as the Lady of the Dead. Today, the Lady of the Dead is called La Calavera Catrina. According to the Aztec calendar, the holiday was celebrated on the 9th month, which is in August, by the late 20th century. They changed the holiday to the end of October, beginning November. They did this after the Spanish colonization to fit within the Christianity All Saints' Eve. The Day of the Dead, are also known as Dia de los Muertos, is also a holiday in Mexico which occurs for 3 days, from the end of October to the beginning of November. For every October 31st to November 1st, Mexicans celebrate together, in which they pray and remember friends and family members who have died. November 1st is called Dia de los Inocentes, which means the Day of the Dead Children, and November 2nd is called Dia de los Muertos, to celebrate the dead adults. Traditions that conclude in this holiday consist of countless ones. There's rituals, some including constructing altars, making offerings to the dead, having sugar skulls, holding gravesite vigils, eating a special kind of bread, and participating in the Catrina parade. Each ritual and tradition most often symbolizes a greater meaning. Usually on this special holiday, families of the deceased go and fix up the gravesites, just like these ones. They pull weeds, bring flowers, and bring candles to honor them. At home, they set up altars in which they gather around and tell stories and pray for their ancestors. Some people believe that their ancestors come back home for the day, so they will bring food and drinks to their altars. They do this because they suspect they will be hungry and thirsty from their travels way back home. One specific food is the pan de muerto, or also known as the bread of the dead. The flowers they bring to the grave sites and to the altars are called orange marigolds. They are also known as flor de muertos, or flower of the dead. The warm hue of these orange flowers is so bright and high intensity, making it easier so the spirits to spot them and lead them to their offerings. The Catrina parade is where a massive amount of people come together, singing, dancing, and laughing. La Catrina is a Califuego figure, folk art of a famous person of this holiday. Mexicans often use the calaveras to symbolize the dead and remind themselves to make sure you live life to the fullest. They do not want people to be fearful of the dead, but celebrate it with lots of happiness and love. La Catrina is also known as the Lady of the Dead. The famous artist who drew this picture is called Jose Guadalupe Posada. He was a lithographer who first drew her around 1910. Posada was very important in this time. He did many types of work. They were often in newspapers, song, and novels. He would use calaveras as a political and social satire. La Catrina was a way to make fun of the rich. He used the skulls to say that we would always end up dead anyways. Right here you'll see the La Catrina, which is a woman who happens to be a calavera. She has a hat on her head, which is drawn by using cross-hatching. Most of this artwork was done by hatching and cross-hatching. The hat contains feather-like materials and some kind of decor. The feathers appear to be drawn by a curving line to show the texture of the feathers, who are most likely soft and flowy. The hat was a significant sign of the rich back in the 20th century. The rich often wore European-style hats just like this one here. Here the calavera represents death. The lady appears to be rich, but she will end up dead just like everyone else. The medium he uses here was zinc. This was also a zinc etching. Diego Rivera was another famous artist from Mexico who was most famous for all his murals, he's dead. He often said he was inspired by Jose Guadalupe Posada and always looked up to him. He was a part of the group called Mexican Muralist Movement. They painted murals all over the world in his paintings in public buildings to send us social and political messages. He had paintings that had to do with a lot of Mexican Revolution. Two paintings that depicts the holiday is the Day of the Dead mural, which you see right here, and Sueño de un tarde dominico en el Alameda Central, or Dream of a Sunday Afternoon in the Amelia Central. From 1923 to 1924, he painted the Day of the Dead mural in the Secretariat of Public Education in Mexico City, Mexico. This media here he used was fresco. Diego Rivera fell in love with the Italian style while studying abroad and used it in most of his murals. The murals showed a numerous amount of people gathered around celebrating the famous holiday. Some of these people dressed as calaveras and others drinking and celebrating the holiday. This other mural is called Sueño de Tarde Dominico en el Amelia Central, or Dream of a Sunday Afternoon in the Amelia Central, was also done by the famous fresco style. He has famous people centered that has to do with the Mexico's pastime by walking through the famous park, and which happens to be the center of attention is the Calavera Catrina. She seems to be holding hands with the two artists, which one is the Diego Rivera as a child and Jose Guadalupe Posada. I believe this was to show which Diego got his inspiration from. It's from Jose Guadalupe Posada and how much he meant to Diego Rivera as a child. The focus view of the people were all dressed in European attire to represent the time before the Mexican Revolution. To the left, people weren't dressed as nice, and they looked very poor. You can see the focus figure of someone with all the poor people or middle class below him. He happened to be Benito Juarez. To the right were soldiers who probably was from the Mexican Revolution. You also see a man dressed as a police officer being trampled by a horse with a man on top of it. He also appears to be shot in the face by another man. This depicts the Mexican Revolution. So what I found very interesting was this past year, over 300,000 people attended the festival for this holiday. There was music, dancing, and everyone dressed as the famous La Catrina. This year not wasn't only about happiness. It was also a tough year for people in Mexico. They wanted to honor the 500 plus people who have died in Mexico earthquake occurring September of 2017. I wasn't there, but I found an article on this, and I thought it was very interesting and moving. As we know by now, this holiday celebrates the dead through art and tradition in their usual parade they have every year. They made a float to honor the people who passed in the earthquake. The float was made of rubble and people dressed as emergency personnel walking beside it. In the article, it also states how women were protesting violence against women, like this one here. They were using this art of this holiday to protest something very important to them and honor everyone who has passed away. The protest had started because of a 16-year-old girl who was raped and murdered, and shine the light on these things that people just ignore. The women are holding up signs and facts of pictures who women fell victim to violent crimes. They were also chanting "No una más," meaning not one more. I think art can be whatever you want it to be. You can make art to shine the light on something important to you. You can use art to protest, to make someone feel something, to show history of the world, and etc. In this holiday, I believe they use art to honor their ancestors and everyone who has died. Everyone is so fearful of death, so this is a way to celebrate death instead of crying or being sentimental about it. I also enjoyed learning their ancestors and how important they are to them. The history of where you come from can make you who you are today. Celebrating their life at least once a year can remember what your ancestors have done for you and what they endured for you today. Art is powerful, and in this case, symbolizes death with life.